Good morning, friends. David Wright here, and I am your host of the Disruptive Innovators Champions of Digital Business podcast. And I am excited to say that today I am joined by Jared Mabry. Jared, it's a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, great to be here, David. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. I know this has been a long time in the making. Jared, for those of our listeners who may not be familiar, can you just share a little bit about your current role?
Yeah, sure. I recently started as Chief Information Officer for D4C Dental Brands, which is a nationwide kind of DSO. We work and partner with multiple different practices, dental practices, specifically within the pediatric dentistry world, but also within orthodontics and orthosurgery to again help serve underserved communities across the United States. So it's been a great opportunity and a very cool organization, and I've really enjoyed starting here. So been a cool journey so far.
Wow, I'm really psyched for you, man. That's amazing. And I'm excited to dig a little bit more into your new role. But before we do, we just like to start the episode with one piece of actionable advice you might look to leave people with today.
Look, the biggest thing that I can tell people, and it's one of those things that I wish I could get in a time machine and go back and tell myself many, many years ago, which is don't be afraid to take on the things that nobody else wants to. It's typically in those opportunities that you find the biggest chance to take big swings, and sometimes you miss, and sometimes you connect. But it's typically where I've had the most fun in my career, and it's typically where I feel like I've learned the most, I've grown the most, and I feel like that it's been the most beneficial to me. And, those that I've had the opportunity to mentor or work with, both inside my organizations and outside of them, I always try and push them into doing things that are a little more uncomfortable. And it's just such a great, if you can kind of get past that initial mental, kind of stigma or block, amazing things can happen.
Wow, great advice to start the episode. I mean, it really resonates with me as an entrepreneur. I find myself needing to be comfortable with being uncomfortable more often than not, and kind of flying over my skis where, we have the knowledge, but then at the same time, you need to do that additional work or digging in order to get to the solution, right? It's not that obvious. It's the harder situation. So I just, yeah, I really resonate with that. I mean, Jared, I'd love to actually dig into a little bit about you as an individual, because I know when we met, you were at another health system, and I know you've had a pretty interesting journey even getting to that place. And I was always really attracted to your experience as it pertains to CX and that kind of stuff. But maybe you could just share with our listeners kind of how you started out and how you got to be the CIO of D4C brands today.
Yeah, it's kind of been a little bit of a crazy journey. I started my first job out of college, out of undergrad. I was coming to Richmond, Virginia, to take on a role as a junior programmer for Wyeth Pharmaceuticals. Now, it is a really good thing for both me and Wyeth Pharmaceuticals that I got a call from HCA Healthcare, because had I not, I may have been the world's worst programmer. I don't have the aptitude. I get really frustrated anytime I'd hit commit and something didn't work. I loved solving the problem, but then it was just kind of going back and forth through that process. I just learned that I was not that great at it. But being able to step into a role with HCA Healthcare as a desktop tech was really the first role I took on. That was a great opportunity to learn healthcare. And what I knew that I wanted to do out of school was I wanted to work for an organization, an industry that I could really believe in, that I really liked the mission. I felt like I did something that contributed back to the community every day. And that was really important for me. And so getting an opportunity to work for, a big health provider like HCA gave me a lot of opportunity. And so started out my career on the back end processing side, which is now called Parallon, part of the organization, which is all about kind of working with payers, registering patients, getting schedules in, just all the kind of the guts and machinery of healthcare that people really don't think about, but that without, you can't really be successful as a provider. And so I got the opportunity to start there. And then after a couple of years, got an opportunity to step into what was at the time our third largest hospital, and Chippenham and Johnson Willis hospitals in Richmond. And Chippenham had this great focus on cardiology, and Johnson Willis on oncology. So getting to learn really two big service lines, and being able to understand what it took both from a technology perspective, but more importantly from a clinical perspective, was just an incredible gift that I feel grateful for every day. Both being able to interact with the amazing caregivers, but also with our patients, and getting the opportunity to see how it felt to be a patient in our hospitals. And I think especially as a younger individual, you think we all when we're young think we're invincible. We're not, but we think that way, and I maybe wasn't able to fully understand what it meant to provide healthcare until I got an opportunity to spend time with those who were experiencing that healthcare. And it gave me a completely different appreciation for my job and what I did. I think at that point, that's where I started seeing myself as less of a technologist or a technology professional, more as a healthcare professional, more as somebody who wanted to be able to translate technology to serve our patients and our caregivers. And so just an amazing opportunity to really transform my view on the world. Went through a number of different, kind of divisional roles, helping to drive some incredible infrastructure projects, and being a part of some really cool implementations of EHRs, and then getting to spend some time really with my first kind of product role, stepping into a CIO position, our Mid America division at the time, based out of Kansas City. We wanted to build a patient centric product, something that our patients in our facilities could, would help to ease their journey. And so what we really where we started with was an antepartum unit. For those unfamiliar with that, it's really an area where our patients, expecting mothers are really trying to delay giving birth. So they sometimes can be in kind of our hospitals for, weeks and months, which, as anybody can imagine, that's a really challenging situation for someone to be in. And so we try, kind of work with all these different vendors to wrap technology solutions around our patients in these rooms, helping them to understand who their caregivers were and their care teams and what they did, giving them access to resources like Calm so that they could do peaceful meditations, or being able to connect with loved ones through video conferencing. Because while iPhones were definitely out at that time, the connectivity to do things like FaceTime wasn't as strong, and so being able to have a robust kind of video conferencing solution in the patient room for our patients to leverage to stay in touch with their loved ones was really key, and something that was really special to be a part of. And I think that based on our patient feedback, we got an incredible opportunity to see what it feels like and looks like when you really custom build solutions for our patients. And then had an amazing opportunity to transition to the United Kingdom. I spent 5 years based out of London, kind of getting a whole different set of experiences, being able to see the world there, and experience both a different side of healthcare delivery. Obviously, the National Health Service is providing a lot of the care that our hospitals provide in the U.S., but having private options within that country was so important and so vital for people who needed access to care more immediately. And so awesome opportunities there. And then got an opportunity to come back to the United States and into a digital patient experience role, which our products and services serve 35 million patient encounters a year. So we built really cool products for our patients to use. And it was, again, an area that I've been so incredibly passionate about and excited to be a part of.
Yeah. Um, Super cool. I mean, and what sticks out to me is when what I heard in your story was that inflection point when the work that you were doing, you kind of mentioned like you stopped being a technologist and you started being, a healthcare worker, right? Or that it was no longer about like just delivering the technology to support your colleagues as your customers. It was, you know, you were part of a greater mission to support this your community really. And I'm trying to pinpoint, exactly when in my life I had that revelation too. I think, it ties back to my mom and her work in the nonprofit world and in mental health and with pregnant women and trauma informed care and all of that. But like I had that same moment, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so grateful I have the opportunity to serve in the healthcare arena. Because if I can play the smallest part in impacting the lives of those around me, like what a cool thing to try to do, and I enjoy the work, right? So it's like what a blessing. So curious, Jared. I mean, so really interesting journey, right? What would you say is one of the most important things that you learned over the course of your career? And if you could think, what life was like before learning it and after learning it, anything come to mind there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's okay to learn on the job. I think it's one of those things that some experience, some learnings are best, uh, really absorbed through experiencing them in the moment. So many times in my career, I had no idea how to handle a situation. I've never had that happen to me before. And so, being able to just figure it out, kind of bootstrap it and figure it out, it's really important. And so I think for me, it was looking at, how do I handle those situations? And, I think it was giving myself a bit of grace to understand that I don't know this. I don't know how to approach this right now. Take a beat, think about it, and then be able to, kind of chart a path forward. But I think it's being able to stay calm in those moments, not overreact, not underreact, not kind of go into it thinking that I need to have all the answers to all the questions. I think it's being able to go into it very humbly. I think it's being able to go into it with seeking knowledge and the expertise of others. And it's being able to surround yourself. And these are the moments where surrounding yourself with really smart people that you love to work with is just so important because you can do amazing things together and you can do amazing things as part of a group of highly motivated individuals who care about what they do, who love to solve problems and who want to make a difference. And being in that situation, I feel like that's what kind of helps you to navigate that. And then it's always the biggest thing for me is in any of those situations, I always do a postmortem. I always come back to it either sometimes it's personally, I'm thinking, okay, how did I do here? What do I think I could have done better? What was the challenge? What were the challenges and opportunities? And how did I face them? And then I'll look to seek feedback from others as part of that, who I was in this situation with, to get their perspectives, but also doing it collectively as a team, as a group. How do we make sure that the next time we run into one of these, firestorms, that we're better equipped and we're better prepared to handle it, and again, work through it together. And then that should inform your team norms, how you kind of help to continue to operate as a group. And I don't know, those are some of the things that I feel like that have been highly beneficial. But also, just I think the biggest thing is just giving myself grace. Sometimes you just don't know, and you got to figure it out, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I love the leaders that I admire the most, they have this humility about them, right? And I think you nailed it in that it's about how do I react in that moment, right? Am I moving towards fear, fear of being found out, fear of failure, fear of, whatever it might be? Or am I, staying grounded in like, well, it's okay that I don't know the answer, um, let me, like you said, reach out to my colleagues, to my trusted advisors, to my channel, to like my research, whatever it might be. Um, I mean, I find myself in that position all the time, and I love that you mentioned like like my whole thing is like I'm on the market for people that are smarter than me because my mom is a CEO. She's like she always told me she's like, oh, you got to always try to hire people that are smarter than you. And it's the the further along that I get in my career, I realize how little I know in the grand scheme of things. In a very global macro sense, right? For like, and I'm not talking about just technology. I'm talking about just about life in general, like about cultures, about the universe, different aspects of science, like, and I think that being grounded in that humility is actually a beautiful thing because it keeps me a student each day, right? Like I'm constantly trying to learn more, and then and then that experience hopefully can be beneficial to somebody else because I will have had walked through that. But yeah, great stuff. What about a time, Jared, that you were challenged or you've had a project fail or, something of that nature, but ultimately you took a lesson away from it that was profound for you or something of that nature?
Yeah, there was this one time we were upgrading some infrastructure. We purchased this brand new kind of all in one compute storage network device. We were putting this in place to upgrade some of our servers that hosted our EHR in one of our regional data centers, and we felt like we had thoroughly tested this solution, and we're ready to go. Had a good test plan, had a good implementation plan, had all the right resources engaged, and we got it up. We got it in, we got it up, we got it running, and then we ran into about 6 hours later a catastrophic failure, and a catastrophic failure to the point where we were really stuck between we can either figure out how to fix this thing alongside our vendor partner, or we can start a backup and restore process that would have taken 48 plus hours. And, long story short, it took us almost 70 hours to recover from this, to get this thing up and running again, to fix the issues, and I was up the whole time. I couldn't sleep. We were running rotations, but it really didn't matter. I was still listening to calls. I was in it because, I felt like I had made this decision. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me. And while I felt like we had done all the right things to make sure that this was going to be successful, sometimes things happen. And, this is one of those scenarios where you've kind of got a more bleeding edge device that we and our vendor partner weren't all that familiar on how to manage and how to troubleshoot, how to fix potential issues, and we just ran into an edge case. And that's really unfortunate. And our hospitals had to go on downtime procedures for this time period, which was impacting to both our patients and our caregivers. And so I remember coming out of this, once we got everything back up and running, and coming out of it, one, exhausted, but funny enough, we had a leadership meeting that day, and we had invited in a guest speaker and all this kind of stuff, and I felt like I needed to be there, so I Uber because I didn't feel comfortable driving into the office to go to this meeting. And our division president at the time, I remember him coming up to me, and I thought, oh boy, I'm gonna hear it, because I felt like at that point I probably should get my rear end kicked for this, but he just walked up to me and gave me a hug. And in that moment, I felt just this incredible sense of relief, but also this sense of understanding. And we talked about it later that it's okay to make mistakes. You're going to, things are going to happen. Life is going to happen. Problems are going to arise. It's what you do with those moments and in those moments that speak volumes about your character, who you are, and how you are going to ultimately, kind of be able to get out of them and through them and to the other side. And he gave me some incredible feedback. Just he made me feel like it was okay, that failure is okay, and from that moment, that again, it's what you do with it. And from that moment, I've tried to take every single opportunity that where we have failed or I have failed or I've seen others stumble, that one, I don't want them to feel alone in that. And two, I want them to make sure that they understand that it's okay, but that it's what they've done with it. And, it's how they've been able to manage that and what lesson they take away from it and how they then pay that forward. And that's been it was just a highly it was a really pivotal moment for me in my career, and something that taught me just volumes about what it means to be a good leader in challenging situations. And I've had those situations occur again, and in different circumstances, but again, along the way, it's just about being able to take that moment, give grace, create accountability, give grace, and make sure that there's an understanding of what did we learn from it, and make sure we have some strong takeaways. And I found that's been really beneficial.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's a great, great parable. I mean, and I think it's that permission, that grace. I mean, that insight is translatable, uh, past business too. Like, I think that it's relevant to things that happen to me in my life, Um, what do I do with that hardship or when that time when I stumble, personally, which directly correlates with my professional life, right? I've found that some of those darkest or most difficult moments are the times that I've had the most profound shift, if I can keep myself open to it, right? I want to talk more, Jared. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit more about your current role. Before I do, I always just like to ask, is there a book or a blog or a literary piece that either you're reading now or all time just really sticks out in your mind? Something that you might share with our listeners today.
Yeah, I mean, something right now that I am really a book right now I'm really enjoying is called "The Science and Art of Longevity" by Peter Attia. It's really an interesting book on kind of healthcare 1.0, kind of being this really tactical. How do we fix an immediate need or an immediate issue, and then looking at if we want to look at wellness and longevity is really the goal within healthcare. How do we look at that and how do we measure that differently? Some of the studies that we use today to gauge effectiveness of procedures or of treatments may not necessarily work because if you're looking at running trials over kind of weeks and months to determine effectiveness of something or in sometimes years, trying to understand that within the term of a lifetime is it's very different. And so it's really trying to look at different tactics and ways that we can do that. And what those different aspects are that can help us all live a longer, healthier life. And so, as I reach the precipice of turning 40, I've become very interested, far more interested in what do I need to do to make sure that I can live a long, healthy life. And so, I think that's been a key for me. So, I've really enjoyed and really enjoyed the book so far.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I'm catching up to you quick here. So I'm gonna have to check that book out, needless to say.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely worth it.
Jared, talk to us a little bit about your vision for IT and digital as it's derived from the overall, mission of the organization and maybe some of the key initiatives that you're focused on?
Sure. And again, I think that, we what I really love about our opportunity right now is, this is again, a focus in pediatric dentistry. And, I can remember, being a kid and going to, the dentist was never a fun experience for me. It was awful. It was the sights, the sounds, not understanding what was going on. And, going from a place, going instantly to a place of fear because it just was never a fun experience. How can we use technology to help to make that experience a little easier, a little more manageable, take some of that pain and fear away from kids so that they aren't then, as they become young adults or adults, don't become afraid of going to the dentist, which, oral hygiene and oral health is such a huge component of our overall health and wellness. And, there are incredible, correlations to both neurological disorders, heart disease, for not having appropriate oral hygiene. And, I think that being able to ensure that, people don't have that fear, and they do take that path is really exciting. And so we want to make it more, I think where we're kind of at the moment is we want to make things easier, more accessible. So we want to obviously, trying to remove barriers to entry for accessing our services. That's creating new digital engagement tooling and being able to have it easier to do everything from make appointments to have a conversation with your doctor or a hygienist or an office staff. Making sure that we've got good awareness around things that we should be doing. I mean, I think we've all gotten into there's the every 6-month checkup kind of thing that we can be doing. But what are some other things that as patients, as parents, that we can be doing to help support our overall, kind of oral health and wellness? How do we help to, better inform our patients and their parents of that? And then, kind of being able to work to transition, have it easily transition from, kind of the pediatric side to the adult side, as our patients ultimately get there. And so, that's a big focus for us. In order to do that, we've got to make sure that we've got a great platform that scales in a secure way, but that, one that is based on great fundamentals. And so, us, like many others, are kind of focused on cloud migration, leveraging SaaS solutions, and trying to consolidate to, drive efficiency. Obviously, really excited and interested in AI and how we can continue to leverage these, new and emerging tools to help support our patients. And, not just from a clinical perspective, but also from a navigation perspective. And I've always been a big proponent that healthcare is hard, and that it shouldn't be, but it's really hard to access service. It's really hard to understand what's going on. It's really hard to navigate. So can we potentially use some of these tools to help us to break down those barriers and make it easier for people to navigate and to understand next steps and understand what is happening in a way that you don't have to have a PhD or an MD to really fully grasp. And so I think that's really important. And then it's really trying to build up the team. We're looking to grow and expand organizationally, and so I've got to make sure that while we've got great platforms that can grow and scale, that we've got a team that's ready to rock and roll. And we've got some amazing colleagues within the organization, but it's really trying to make sure that we can continue to bring in top talent to our org, and that people are not just great technologists and great problem solvers, but are really passionate about making a difference. And that's something that's just as important to me as the other two.
Love that. Very cool. And I've seen firsthand because I had the same experience with pediatric dentistry when I was a kid, and um, now I'm thinking like, did it affect my you know, how keen I was to go to the dentist as a young adult or an adult. I'm like, in my 20s, I kind of just like, you know, screwed around anyway, like my early 20s. So it's hard to say. But my daughter, we take her to a pediatric dentist in Williamsburg, and they have like the TVs on the ceilings and all the toys that they pick out after they're done. And the people are very, bright and, welcoming, and she doesn't fear going to the dentist. It's like she fears sugar bugs. We read a book, and the sugar bugs are what cause the cavities. So,
Ah.
um, she's like, "Do I have any sugar bugs in my teeth?" Like, with and
That's
I don't want to
genius. I
scare
love
her,
that.
but
Yeah,
it's cute.
that's
So
amazing. No,
yeah,
but
very cool.
you're spot on though. I mean, yeah, I look at it whenever I was a kid, that kind of thing didn't exist. It was just these very sterile feeling practices. But us being able to introduce iPads and entertainment. We've got screens on the wall with Disney Plus running, and iPads that we can hand out, and game consoles and arcade cabinets. I mean, it can be a fun experience, and again, one that the more that we get people comfortable with accessing care now and comfortable making sure that they continue that journey into adulthood, the better it's going to impact their overall wellness throughout their life, and and then passing that on to their children, and that's just a really exciting opportunity.
I agree. I agree, 100%. What about any challenges you guys are facing as a business right now?
I think it is that need to scale and grow really quickly, and making sure that we do that in the right way without leaving a mound of technical debt. And that's it's always a constant balance. Anytime that you're in a heavy growth scenario, you want to be a you don't IT doesn't or technology, we don't want it to be the long pole in the tent. We want to be able to help the organization continue to move at pace, but we have to make sure that we do so in the right way. And we've been working to establish really good risk frameworks that help us make those decisions. I'm a big believer that we need to be able to align to the needs of the organization, but we need to also make sure that we're being good stewards and that we're informing and creating awareness around the risks of taking on some of these decisions or making some of these calls. And doesn't mean we can't do it, but it's understanding kind of eyes wide open what it means to do it, and and talking about it in a way that it's not all these technical risks. What these technical risks ultimately translate to in business terms, and risk for our organization as a whole. And so we've been having a lot of those good trade off discussions and leveraging an emerging kind of governance process to help us do that. And I think all of these things are allowing us to have really good conversations and make really good decisions together. But that's probably the biggest challenge outside of, again, just trying to keep up with being able to bring good talent into to the org. And it's challenging when you're in big markets like Nashville and Atlanta, where our corporate offices are, where we've got a lot of folks that are available, and we also have a lot of competition for those resources. And so always a struggle, but again, I think that we've got it's a great place to work. It's a great place to be, and I love what we do, and finding people that equally love what we do, and again, want to use their great technology skills to make a difference is key.
Love it. You mentioned that kind of governance that you guys were standing up. Do you think that'll help with some of the newer kind of innovative technology solutions that are coming out?
Absolutely. I mean, us being able to have really informed conversations around AI, around the risk of, leveraging these solutions. How far do we want to leverage them? What tooling do we want to be able to use? What guardrails do we want to put around that for the organization? All of these are really key conversations that we need to have. And, how much of this do we need to, ultimately solidify into policy versus how much of this is guidance is also kind of a constant double-edged sword, because, you want to be able to be agile and move quickly, but you want to do so in a way that doesn't create adverse risk to the org. And so, I think that, us being able to have a forum where we can have these conversations, the risk framework that enables us to have the right level of dialogue and the right level of conversation is really important. And I do think it's been incredibly beneficial for us.
Now, this has been really, really cool, Jared. Really insightful. I have a couple last questions for you. One would be, um, where do you see the dental and or healthcare industry going in the future? With the understanding that you don't have a crystal ball, but maybe what do you think will be some of the biggest changes as time passes?
I think it's going to become, I think it's going to be, if we talk about healthcare at a broader scale, I think it's really interesting to look at, the emergence of all of these new kind of groups coming out at the top of the funnel and being able to offer more, kind of the, um, whether it's telemedicine visits or being able to offer urgent care visits or being able to, kind of have the minute clinics or being able to have all of these different access points, both physically and virtually. And what that does to some of the larger healthcare providers that kind of operate there, but also more down funnel is really interesting to see because I think you're going to get you're going to have the increase in competition is obviously good for consumer. It's great to be able to have more access points for healthcare. It is great to see the barrier of entry to healthcare start to become lower and lower. I want to see those services be available to everyone and easily available to everyone. So I love that. But then it's going to be how do you have some of these large healthcare providers be able to pivot to accommodate that? I think is going to be really interesting. And how they they see the initial relationship to the patient through some of these other groups, and then it just becomes referral based business. I think it's going to be really interesting to see that potential transition. And then I think that from a dental perspective, I think that dentistry has been seen as being behind some of traditional healthcare in some aspects. But I think there's great opportunities to leapfrog some of the integration and connectivity and how some of these things come together. And I'm seeing some of the larger providers of, the practice management providers and some of the other clinical solutions start to realize that, start to bring that together, which is an exciting transition for us. And then, I think that you're going to see broadly what is the impact of AI in healthcare? I think it's going to be really cool to see more bespoke medicine being able to get to a place where where data is helping to inform more individualized treatment plans, which is just incredibly exciting for me and so many others I think that have been involved in the healthcare industry, but also just frankly as a patient. I want to be seen as Jared Mabry. I don't want to be seen as a lot of people like Jared Mabry. And so that's having that opportunity and having the data available to be in that place is just is really cool to see.
Yeah, striving towards that personalized experience, the compassionate experience. Um, but how can we leverage automation and AI to do it? So, Jared, this has been a treat, man. I'm so grateful that you were able to join us today. The last question I'd have for you is just if you could go back 5, 10, 15 years in time, other than, advising yourself to like buy Apple stock or, Tesla or something like that, what advice would you give your younger self?
I think it would kind of be twofold, and I've touched on both of them. I think it's give yourself grace. You don't have to know everything, and you're going to learn a lot on the job. You're going to learn a lot as you go. You're going to learn a lot by doing. So do. So go out and don't be afraid. Be fearless to go and do. And that doesn't mean that you just go and break things. That means that you need to have a mindset of being humble, but moving forward and understanding the responsibility of your actions and what that does. And again, with my career being in healthcare, I felt the weight of our patients, our caregivers on my shoulders in the decisions that we were making. And I felt that, I always should feel that. that responsibility for that there. But it shouldn't make me afraid to move. That shouldn't make me afraid to be able to be willing to try new things, to drive. Just because it's not been done before doesn't mean that it shouldn't. And I shouldn't be afraid of that. And then the other thing is again, take on the hard stuff, get after it. If a lot of people don't want to do it and it needs to be done, again, it's the land of great opportunity. So get after it, go do it and have some fun. Because again, there's a great adventure that awaits. Maybe it's not going to be easy and it's not always going to be successful, but you're going to learn a lot, you're going to grow a lot, and you're going to have a lot of fun doing it.
Boom. Love it. Jared, thank you again so much for being on today. It was absolute pleasure.
Thank you, David. It's been a blast, man, and look forward to doing it again.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you all next week.